Okay, let's move on to the big shebang. The Thursday night breakdown at work, and there is something big. There is something major that we have to mention.
Are we going to talk about the interview with that supervisor?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to talk about something she omitted, either on purpose or by accident, but it changes everything.
The omission.
Yes.
Huh.
All right, so...
How do you know about this omission?
How do I know anything, Maxwell?
I don't know. I don't know. Just...
All right, so in reading quotes from Karen Mayotte, Maura's work supervisor, on the night of the hit and run, Karen mentions that another supervisor alerted her that Maura was upset. So Karen supposedly met this supervisor at the Southwest dorms while she was eating. The other supervisor said, quote, "Something's up with Maura." So, I believe Renner has identified this supervisor, and I will name him in a minute. So, basically, Maura's job was checking IDs in the dorm.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Her security job, yes. So here's what's strange, even before we get into this. If this other supervisor knew somehow that something was up with Maura, how come that supervisor didn't talk to Maura? How come that supervisor went to get Karen, and then Karen, unspecified amount of time later, went to Maura? Because if Maura was sitting around in a catatonic state, not checking anybody's IDs, she's not doing her job. I mean, that's basically a fireable offense. And this isn't addressed immediately. This is casually addressed in an eatery. The whole story's fishy from the get-go. So, in her recent interview on the Missing Maura Murray podcast, she stated she offered to take Maura to Dunkin' Donuts to talk and make her feel better. So this is new information now. Maura declined and also stated, "I have a big test tomorrow." So she was not completely catatonic. She was at least making up excuses not to go or whatever, something was bothering her. So she had enough wherewithal to say that. So that's something extra. So Karen also said that she grabbed Maura's backpack and other belongings and walked her back to the lobby of her dorm because college rules prevent faculty from entering the dorms. So, and Maura was too catatonic to even swipe her ID to get into the dorms. So she had to do it for her. And yet she's saying, "Oh no, I have a big test tomorrow, so I can't go eat and talk." What do you think of that, Maxwell?
It's okay.
Or is Karen misremembering?
I don't know.
Do you know anything, Maxwell?
I don't know.
Okay, so Karen said she was nervous about leaving Maura alone, and then Maura also said, "It's okay, I have a roommate."
Okay.
She doesn't have a roommate.
Oh, that's messed up.
I know, we actually did mention this once before, but we didn't mention the big test tomorrow. That was new. So she's saying she has a big test tomorrow, and she has a roommate when she doesn't. So if Karen... No, we have to take Karen's word for all this, because how is any of this proved? So if Karen is in on whatever, or was instructed to say whatever by whoever...
Maybe she discovered that she's getting a roommate, so she says she has a roommate.
At that moment, Karen doesn't want to leave her alone. There is no roommate at that moment. If there was going to be a roommate next week, even if that's true, and even if Maura said that...
Karen is a co-worker, right?
She's a supervisor.
Okay.
She said she was nervous about leaving Maura alone. Maura said, "I have a roommate" at that moment. She did not have a roommate
because of the
moment.
breakdown.
Yes. She's escorting her back to her door.
Okay.
Okay, so... Another interesting point is Karen said she always had a textbook with her, so she definitely took her studies seriously, and the textbooks were in her car when she left, so she was planning on studying wherever she left, unless someone else put the textbook in there. So, also interesting, she said she always had a textbook while working, so when she wasn't checking the IDs, she was still looking in her textbook. She was a very serious student, and since she was on the dean's list, obviously that's true.
Where does that work again?
Campus security.
No. So Karen is a supervisor?
Yes.
Okay.
Dorm security. Okay, so Karen confirmed that the police did speak with her, but all it included was writing a statement. She said she wished that she was actually asked questions to help more instead of just writing the statement and that's it. No one ever came to interview her. No PIs, no FBI, no one. Sharon Rausch was the only one who reached out to her about 2 weeks after this appearance. This was also when the first... So no one ever came to interview her. No PIs, no FBI, no one. Sharon Roush. Okay, this was also when she first found out that Maura even had a boyfriend. So Karen is saying, even though she followed the news, whatever, this was when she first found out Maura had a boyfriend. Interesting. Karen states her interaction with Maura was between 10:30 and 10:45 p.m., but she was not sure. She stated that Maura's shift would end at 1:30 a.m. So there's a whole bunch of different stories on when her shift ends. Some people say 12, some people say 3 a.m. if it's on the weekends, and then it's even been stated as 2 a.m. So there's all over the place. Okay, other sources say she was escorted back to her dorm room at 1:15 a.m. So could both be true? Is 10:30 when the other supervisor told Karen that something was wrong with Maura and Karen didn't get around to Maura until 1 a.m.? We really don't know. We have to investigate this. So here's the thing. So who did she talk to before the breakdown? This is critical, and I'm about to unleash a bombshell here. Are you ready, Maxwell?
I'll try to pay attention.
It's a tall task. So, Kathleen call was a 28-minute call. It was from 10:10 p.m. to 10:38 p.m. Is there a problem here, Maxwell? If Karen walked up to Maura and said she was catatonic at 10:30, how could she be catatonic if she's on the phone talking to Kathleen until 10:38?
That's fucked up. Well, she just probably gave the time wrong as far as...
Okay, so you're saying it's 10:45, so she just got off the phone with Kathleen at 10:38 and switched to catatonic. But, riddle me this, Maxwell. If she's catatonic, she gets off the phone at 10:38.
Catatonic who? Maura?
Yes.
Okay. Like... yeah, but
Who else was catatonic?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, but I just don't see her, like, for some reason you keep saying catatonic and I just let it go. I didn't know she was freaking catatonic and shit.
She's in a
when
state.
When you're freaking in a nervous breakdown, you just kind of like...
She's zoned out or whatever. She's not checking people's IDs. Okay, so, here's the point, Maxwell. 10:38 p.m. she gets off the phone with Kathleen. So if it's like 10:39ish and the other supervisor sees that there's something wrong with her, for whatever reason, this other supervisor doesn't say anything. He allows the student to continue not checking IDs, not doing their job, and goes to an eatery to find Karen and tell her that something wrong. So Karen rushes there within like 2 minutes to find her there catatonic, as if she found her at 10:45. Because Karen's not the one who discovered that she was catatonic. Are you following, Maxwell?
So who discovered that she was catatonic?
The other Are you paying attention?
The
other supervisor.
Which was?
Well, I'll get to his name in a second, but it's irrelevant. If she got off the phone at 10:38, are you following?
Okay.
She gets off the phone at 10:38.
Yeah.
So let's say within...
But the only discrepancy is that she reported that at 10:30 that she was catatonic or some shit like that.
She said she got to Maura between 10:30 and 10:45.
How
is that possible? She was on the phone until 10:38. So if the other supervisor saw her at, let's say, 10:39,
I don't know. People mix up times like that. I don't think that's far off. People mix up times.
What's not far off? So what time did she see Maura? 1 o'clock. So she said it was 10:30 and it was really 1.
Wait, was it 1? It wasn't. It was...
I'm asking you. You said people mix up time. So if
what
it was really 1, hold on.
It could be...
If it was really 1 and she said 10:30 to 10:45, that doesn't strike you as suspicious.
But it is because it's really far. But that's not what happened. She said
it was reported at other sources that it was 1. I'll get to that in a second. I'm just pointing, Maxwell. So you're saying it might have been 10:50. So it's not that weird. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
Okay.
I thought it was close, like,
right.
but you're not saying that.
I'm saying okay. She definitively stated that her interaction with Maura was between 10:30 and 10:45. When pressed, based on the phone records, she said she wasn't sure after that. So she also stated that Maura's shift would end at 1:30 a.m. Okay, so the Billy Roush call was a 7-minute call between 12:07 and 12:14. So just after midnight. So here's the question. Is she still at her desk? Is she still doing security while talking to Billy? Or this is after she's escorted to her dorm room she talks to Billy?
She's still working because that's her job. Like,
And I'm talking about her cell phone record with Billy.
yeah.
If Karen escorted her back to her room at 10:45, let's say that's accurate.
Oh yeah, I forgot she got escorted. I forgot about that. Sorry.
What's going on? Because if the breakdown was between 1 and 1:15 a.m., because that's what it was also reported as, Karen's way off. But she said Karen did admit that if Maura was upset after talking to Billy, then it would have been after the Billy call. She didn't dispute that. She didn't say, no, there was no chance it was after 12 or after 1 a.m. She did not say that. She said if it was after that call, then maybe it was 1 a.m.
Wait, why does she not remember this?
That's a very good question, especially if she's finding a student catatonic, which she's never done before. But she's really sure about the 10:30 time before they point out the cell phone record. She's very sure before that.
Why was she so sure? That's weird.
Oh,
wait,
Maxwell.
Wait, that's kind of... Wait.
All right, so let's say, here's the thing. If the breakdown is at 1, that's a lot of time to ruminate, even if it was after the Billy call. Because if she gets off the phone with Billy at 12:14, is she not checking IDs from 12:14 to 1? Or is she checking them and then she slowly stops checking them, and that's when the other supervisor sees her, there's something wrong with her for whatever reason, he doesn't say anything to her and he goes to Karen instead? Or did someone call the other supervisor and tell him, and then he told Karen? We don't know the exact details.
I don't understand, like, what was wrong with her that people saw? I don't get it. Like,
she's sitting there, just zoned out, not checking people's IDs. Her job is to check people's IDs. So there's people just walking by the desk without signing in.
But now, when people did everyone's words like use catatonic?
No.
So she was just like
she was upset and not doing her job, which is a fireable offense. So she's supposed to be checking IDs, and people are supposed to be signing in. Now, so who knows who's walking into the dorms?
When people asked her how she was, like, did they explain her as just staring into space, or like?
Did you not pay attention? I just read what Karen said about Maura.
And which was?
That she wasn't answering her questions. All she said was, my sister, when she said what's wrong. And that's it. And then she kept pressing her. She wasn't saying anything. She was too catatonic.
My sister.
Do you not remember that I just said, Karen said that she couldn't even swipe her ID card to get into her dorm. That's how zoned out she was. You want to use zoned out instead of catatonic? You want to use too upset to even swipe the ID card.
I'm just saying, because like whenever I hear catatonic...
Didn't you even listen to the interview?
When I hear catatonic...
Did you listen to the Karen interview?
No, I didn't.
Well, that was good for this podcast.
No, I never listened to it.
How did you know about it?
I saw the title on my YouTube. Okay. I saw that title on my YouTube. Like,
are you interested in this case, Maxwell?
Amazing interview with the supervisor.
Are you interested?
First time ever interview, and then
are you interested?
I wanted to listen to it, and then I decided.
Are you interested in this? Are you interested in this case?
Of course. I was gonna listen to it, but it disappeared from my feed, so I forgot about it.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. I just said it anyway. She was too catatonic. If you don't like the word catatonic, that's fine. She's too upset to even swipe her ID card to get into a building. She's not responding to Karen when she's asking her questions.
To swipe her own ID card to get into the building?
Yeah.
So what did she do? She just stayed out there?
Karen swiped it for her, I think she said. To get her in. Because Karen, did you not pay that? Karen escorted her back to her dorm.
Yeah.
So what do you think? They're just going to stand out there forever? Like, what... I'm not understanding your questions, Maxwell.
Okay, got it.
She said she was not responding to her questions. And other than a few couple of lines that she squeaked out, I have a big test.
So she was really upset. She was really upset. She just couldn't even think.
She was zoned out, yeah.
So if Karen wasn't there, she would have just stayed out by the door.
She would have just sat there, I guess, yeah.
She would have and just passed out.
All right, so let's look at this description of this whole incident from James Renner's book. Karen Mayotte was the first person to notice that something was wrong with Maura Murray. Okay, so he's inaccurate there because apparently the other supervisor said that. And he's going to name the other supervisor. Until I tracked Karen down through social media, she had never been interviewed about the night Maura broke down at work. We met at Finder's Pub in West Boylston, Massachusetts, 2 days before the 7th anniversary of Maura's disappearance. The best word I can use to describe Karen is bubbly. She's the sort of person who says things like holy moly a lot. She's energetic like a kid.
Wait, who said holy moly a lot?
He's talking about Karen.
Okay.
He said she's the sort of person who says things like holy moly a lot. She's energetic, like a kid, but maternal at the same time. In fact, she has 4 children and was working as a first-grade teacher when we met. Back in 2004, Karen was the shift supervisor for the UMass Residence Hall security staff. At night, she patrolled the campus, checking to make sure doors were locked, alarms were set, and that each dorm had a security guard posted in the lobby. During the day, she studied the Holocaust and worked with Sudanese refugees. Though I protested, she bought me a Sam Adams and some fried clams, and I ate while she talked. I got the impression Karen was very happy that someone was finally listening, that she'd been waiting to share this story. Maura worked at Melville Hall, Karen explained. She worked the security desk checking IDs. Melville is located in the southwest quadrant of UMass, an area with a reputation for being the craziest quad to work. When the Sox play, things can get out of hand down there. Underage drinking, drugs, vandalism. At UMass, Maura was a bit of a loner, said Karen. Sometimes she'd see Maura eating lunch alone. It was hard to get Maura to open up. When she saw Maura reading a book about hiking the White Mountains titled Not Without Peril, Karen told her that she'd been there as a kid. I lied. I'd never been there, but I wanted to get her talking. She told me about her favorite trails around Mount Washington. Karen checked in with her lead supervisor around 10:30 the night of Maura's breakdown. He said, "Something's up with Maura, just so you know. She had been crying. I went to see what was up."
Wait, who did you say this to?
So Karen checked with her lead supervisor. So I guess she either normally has to check with the lead supervisor. I don't know. But so James Renner, why did he say that she was the first person when he's saying that Karen checked with her lead supervisor? Okay, I don't know. When Karen arrived at Melville, Maura was staring into space. I don't know how to explain it. She was just zoned out, no reaction at all. She was unresponsive. Maura had a cell phone on the desk, which was against regulations, but Karen let it slide. I pretended to look at the write-in sheet and kind of watched her out of the corner of my eye, said Karen. Then she said 2 words, my sister. It was very uncomfortable. I watched 2 people come in. One was a boy. She didn't even ask for his ID. She was catatonic, I think. Sobbing slightly and staring at the door. Karen stepped outside and called her boss, Nathaniel Whitmer. So actually, it might not be him. If he's the lead supervisor that is her boss, then it's Nathaniel Whitmer, or it's somebody else. She told him that Maura was in rough shape. Whitmer told Karen to send her home. So Karen packed up Maura's stuff. She signed her out in the log because Maura couldn't do it herself. They walked the short distance to Kennedy Hall together. I asked her if she wanted me to bring her some Dunkins, said Karen, but Maura didn't want donuts or coffee. She said something about nursing in the morning. She wanted to go to sleep. Okay, so that's interesting. She did not say she has a big test tomorrow. That's what Karen said in the recent interview. But this is closer to the time. This was quite a few years ago where she's being interviewed by Renner. Karen was so concerned, she suggested to Maura that she check herself into the hospital, get some mental help. I said, Maura, do you have someone to talk to? She said, I have a roommate. That was a lie, Karen learned later. Maura's room was a single. Or a double with no roommate. Okay, when they arrived at Kennedy, Karen hugged Maura and kissed her on the cheek. She watched Maura walk upstairs. The next morning there was a snowstorm and classes were canceled. I thought, that's cool for her. She can get some rest. 4 days later, Karen got a call from UMass police. They told her Maura was missing, that her car had been found abandoned in the White Mountains. Karen went to the police station and filled out a report. She never heard back from the detectives. So this is bonus points for James Renner. So she just verified in her recent interview that she did not hear back from the detectives. Some people think James Renner makes up a lot of stuff. But the more we keep checking, the more he seems to accurately be reporting all of these interviews. I don't know what was wrong with her, said Karen. Was she suicidal? Why else would she go up there? So Karen's made it clear that she thinks that Maura was suicidal. So if Karen isn't on some wide conspiracy at UMass, she's pushing the suicide angle as well. So, any thoughts so far, Maxwell?
I feel bad for Maura.
Okay, so let's look at what Kathleen Murray and Tim Carpenter had said regarding the breakdown. So here's excerpts from New Hampshire Sunday News, October 28th, 2007. The source of her distress, Maura told the supervisor, was a phone conversation with Murray's sister. Since married, Kathleen Carpenter remembers finishing a phone call with Maura at about 10:20 the night of February 5th, but doesn't recall talking with her sister in the early morning hours. Kathleen, who said she had talked about troubles with her husband-to-be during the nighttime conversation with Maura, said her sister didn't seem upset. But she added Maura and Billy were having relationship troubles at the time. Kathleen said she takes sleeping pills at night and didn't remember a later call. She believes her sister went to the White Mountains to sort out her troubles with Billy. I think it was stress. I don't know what her and her boyfriend were going through, Carpenter said. I think that might have triggered it. They weren't getting along at the time. So Tim Carpenter even knows about this. That's kind of strange. So it seems like what Kathleen could have probably just told him, so I don't know. Here's another article, Where Could Maura Be? March 2nd, 2004, so this is just a couple weeks after she went missing, by Brian McGrory, Globe columnist. The mystery continues to deepen around Maura Murray, the nursing student who vanished in New Hampshire 3 weeks ago after she slammed her car into some trees on a dark rural road. Now we know there was no accident with the trees, but investigators have determined the origin of an unusual telephone call that Murray received a few nights before she fled the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. The conversation upset her so much that she had to be escorted from her job to her dorm room. The call, according to UMass Police Lieutenant Robert Thrasher, came from one of Murray's two sisters. But Thrasher has said police have yet to receive an explanation of what was so upsetting. Yesterday, Fred Murray, the girl's father, said that he was told that Maura's sister called her to talk about a monstrous fight with a boyfriend, but I don't think that would upset her all that much, Murray said. The more details are revealed, the more baffling the case becomes, police acknowledge. Yesterday, Thrasher said that Maura had fastidiously packed all her belongings into boxes before she left school, even removing the art from her dorm room walls. Meanwhile, one UMass friend has seemingly withheld information from police, saying she didn't want to get Maura in trouble.
Who said that?
I believe it was Kate Markopoulos, who was being uncooperative. UMass investigators, who have interviewed dozens of potential witnesses and combed through Murray's computer, share an in-depth timeline that preceded the disappearance. Murray received the call on Thursday evening, February 5th. On Saturday, February 7th, Maura and a girlfriend, Kate Markopoulos, had dinner with Fred Murray, who was visiting Amherst. Afterward, the father returned to his hotel, and the two young women attended a campus party. At 3:30 a.m., February 8th, Maura crashed her father's new Toyota into a roadside post. She told her father about the accident later that morning. Just after midnight on Monday morning, February 9th, she conducted a MapQuest search of the Berkshires and Burlington, Vermont on her personal computer. At 3:40 p.m. Monday, she withdrew $280 from an area ATM, then stopped at a liquor store. Surveillance cameras at the bank machine and in the in-store show that she was alone. So the police did look at the video from the liquor store. They just haven't released it. So, are you ready for the biggest bombshell?
Okay.
I don't think you're ready, Maxwell.
I like the other bombshell, but I'll be...
What bombshell? Oh, the child abuse worker?
Yeah.
That wasn't that much of a bombshell. Here's something bigger. Was there a house phone on the security desk?
What security desk?
The one she's working on.
Yeah. But like usually when they work these desks, it's just a fucking table. It's not like a security desk with a freaking phone attached.
Yeah, a table desk. Who cares? A desk is a table.
Was there a security phone? Okay.
Was there a house phone?
Like a line.
Yes, a phone on the desk. Here is the Caledonian Record. Family, friends of Maura Murray upset with investigation. February 27th, 2004. Pretty soon after. There also is the mysterious phone call Murray received while working as a security person at a residence hall at the UMass Amherst campus, February 5th. The call reportedly reduced Murray to tears, and her supervisor had to take her home because she was so distraught. UMass Detective Davies and his department have been able to track the phone call. We know the location, Davies said. We have not been able to identify to whom she was speaking. Her friends have no idea who called her. The call, according to UMass Police Lieutenant Thrasher, came from one of Murray's two sisters. But Thrasher said police have yet to receive an explanation of what was so upsetting. We didn't really talk about much. I had been fighting with my fiance and we talked about that, but I don't know why she would be upset about that, Kathleen said. Kathleen Murray said she talked to her sister regularly to chat. Like all of their phone conversations, the one on February 5th was about regular stuff, just trying to get through the day kind of thing, she said. When I heard she was crying after that, I couldn't understand why, especially because it's not like her to cry, she said. So this, closer to the date, Kathleen is saying there wasn't any kind of monstrous fight, and she doesn't know why. This is within weeks.
Wait, so Maura is not known to be a crier?
Correct.
Huh, that's very interesting.
So
Wait,
here's...
so this catatonic state, she was also crying, like tears and shit like that?
Yes. Didn't you
Like,
pay attention? I said she was also sobbing. Supposedly lightly, not terribly. But
Huh. and she's
anyway,
not-
Maxwell, you're missing the biggest detail ever.
Hold on. Here's the thing about this. Okay, so the phone call was tracked to the sisters.
No, were you not paying
I
attention?
was paying attention. You said like it was. You said it was tracked to the sisters, and you said the
Okay,
sisters
we know
said-
here two different officers said two different things. So Davies is saying we know the location
Yes.
of the call. We cannot identify the caller. Now,
So
according
I
to
was-
another UMass police detective, or UMass police lieutenant Thrasher, came from one of Maura's two sisters. These two officers are saying different things. They're talking about different phone calls. So listen, Maxwell. Okay, so she received a phone call. Once again, listen. There is the mysterious phone call Murray received. Okay, Maura is the one who called Kathleen and Bill. She did not receive the phone call from Kathleen or Bill. This is her cell phone. There are no records of any incoming calls. She called Kathleen at 10 there's no records of any calls after she called Kathleen at 10:10 p.m. So, this call was tracked. Detective Davies confirmed this. So, speculation is the call was from somewhere on campus, a dorm room, and the time of the call was 12:40 a.m. This is after the Billy call.
And what time? And what time was the breakdown again? 10:30ish. Well, 10:30ish or 1ish.
Yes. So, if
So
the
it's
call
it's more likely 1 because of this particular.
Yes, unless Maura wasn't at the desk. Yes. So, I mean, is this not a huge bombshell? Nobody talks about this. The Oxygen Show never mentioned the house phone. I mean, there's more evidence. I'm going to get into it.
Okay, so all right, hold on. So the house phone, there was a received phone call at what time again?
This is speculation. So, well, let me get to more of the evidence. So, okay, if this is the internal phone network of the campus, then the campus police would easily be able to trace it because it's going through the central office. So they know exactly where the call came from and how long it was. They're withholding this information. Davies confirmed they tracked the call. UMass police would not be able to be tracking her personal private cell phone.
Right.
So I think Haverhill did it, and of course the FBI can do it. Other police departments can do it. Why would campus police be tracking all her cell phones? She didn't even go missing there, supposedly. She went missing in New Hampshire.
But wait, they can't track herself.
He said he tracked the phone call that she received. So he can't be talking about her cell phone, can he?
Yeah, I know.
So he's talking about the house phone. What else could he talk
Oh,
about?
wait, so, yeah, I know. So,
Okay. I thought you were disputing the
wait.
existence of a house phone.
no.
So the universities just...
Wait. Did people assume that it was a cell phone track?
I'm guessing. Well, also, it's kind of confusing because Thrasher...
That can't be because the only way you can track is like from like police, right?
Unless if it's an internal phone system of the campus. So let me go over some more. From the Caledonian Record, January 26, 2005. The first number was to a UMass Amherst dormitory. The number appeared to be dead end for investigators because the person who lived there likely moved on. Okay, so a few things. The person who lived there likely moved on. that means that the call was identified. So if they're talking about this call that she received, and this was not revealed I mean, there's quite a few times before this was revealed. And then keep in mind, this is never mentioned ever again. So if there is some kind of cover up and they let this slip, then again, if Davies is not in on the conspiracy, he could be honestly reporting. And then that's why Thrasher doesn't mention it. He only talks about the calls with the sister, and nobody else ever talks about this again. So it's possible that not all of the police are involved if there is some kind of a conspiracy.
Did you like the interview? Did you like the interview with Karen?
Sure.
Was it informative or?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Again, she left out the house phone. Why would she leave out the house phone? She must know there's a house phone. It's right there on the desk, in addition to her cell phone. In addition to Maura's cell phone.
Oh, okay, got it. I see what you mean. Most likely by mistake. I don't know. Just didn't come up, I guess.
And so this is a 1240 phone call. So here's the thing. Where did that phone call come from? It could have come from a dorm. It could have also theoretically come from the on-campus art gallery, right? Where she worked with Sarah Alfieri. Did Sarah call her? Is Sarah involved in this whole thing? We don't know. It could have been anybody. It could have been somebody threatening her. It could have been something relating to the Vassy hit and run. It could have been any of these things, and we don't know. So if there was some kind of illegal drug thing, I mean, so everybody always wants to talk about her cell phone. Who was she talking to? Why is nobody talking about the house phone, Maxwell?
Because it was rarely used. I don't know.
How do you know?
Because no one talked about it.
Is that because they know that that's where the phone call came in from?
I don't know.
And they don't want anybody else to know? So here's what's weird.
What phone call are you talking about? Which part?
The house phone. Whoever called her on the house phone at 1240, if she's there, that caused the 1 a.m. breakdown.
So you say it could be like the drug thing?
We don't know what it could... I mean, it could be anything, but here's the point. Whoever called... They never came forward, did they?
Because whoever called is what caused the breakdown.
The only thing that makes...
Is what triggered the
exactly,
breakdown.
and what triggered everything.
Right.
Did they call to warn her? Is that why she was so scared? They said they were going to harm her? What could cause her to go into a catatonic state like that?
Yeah, that is messed up. For someone who never cries and rarely, like, she's rarely in that state of panic, right? Like she's rarely...
Let's say if that pizza drug, let's say that guy that worked at pizza was a drug guy and he used the Saturn for whatever, and the Saturn hit Patrice Vassy. And she was informed of this on that phone call. By the way, I hit Patrice Vassy with your car. She's on probation for the credit card fraud. She's going to get kicked out of school. It's her Saturn. How is she going to explain this away?
That's a high stress moment.
Especially if that's a very dangerous person. And if that person knows that she's going to out them, what are they going to do? And what did they say to her in that phone call?
I see what you mean.
If it was an innocent phone call, how come that person...
And there's a Billy Roush... What time was the Billy Roush call?
12:07 to 12:14. It was before the 12:40 call.
This is very interesting. Okay, so
she talked to her sister.
How many phone calls were there? So their sister, then Billy Roush,
and then there's the phone. The house phone.
So there's 3 major calls.
Yes. Then she calls the pizza place later, at 3:40.
At 3:40 a.m.
Yeah.
Getting upset to feed her stress.
So that phone call could even be more critical than this 12:40 because we don't know what was said on any of those calls.
So you're saying like it's possible like the pizza call could be like a drug thing?
We don't know, but the 12:40 call kick-started all of this.
I think she's just eating a whole pie just to get rid of her stress.
The 12:40 call kicked off all this, and if it was an innocent call, why has that caller not revealed themselves? Or it was a wrong number, but why would a wrong number? So if it was a house phone, that means it's an unlisted phone. So so people have long speculated that Maura must have had another phone. What if she used the unlisted house phone to make personal calls that she didn't want to be showing up on the bill because her cell phone was a gift from Billy's family?
Right.
So the Roushes could see her phone activity. If she's using the security desk house phone to make personal calls, possibly to another boyfriend, possibly to whoever.
Wait, hold on. There's a limit to these house...
Correct. It can only happen when she's at work.
It can only... What happened?
Well, she can only receive the phone calls on the house phone when she's at work, because she's only at the desk with the house phone at work.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah.
she can only receive phone calls during her work
yes,
hours.
Yeah, right. Well, that and also you can't call out, of course.
Says who? She could probably call. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, but you can't call out of a security phone for personal calls.
Well, how do you know it's a specific security phone? It could just be a phone line that's on the desk.
Okay, but like
Kind of like an office line.
I think a university would stop. Would cut off that line for
Possibly.
for personal long distance phone calls to India or some shit.
What if
like
they
that.
weren't long distance? What if they were all within campus? Dorms, art gallery.
Okay, within campus, I guess.
Which I think it has to
gotta
be within
allowed.
campus because for it to be traced, like Davey said,
That's
it would
true.
have to be within the dorm or the art gallery that was on. It would have to be.
Okay,
It would
got
have
it,
to be
got it,
within the
got it.
campus phone network.
Actually, you're right. Like, so it has to be within campus because those calls, I just can't imagine them being able to call out to other places.
So here's the other thing. I don't want to get too much into West Point now, but that time period, those few days, was also coincidentally.
What day was this again? What day? This is what? Like,
This is
what's the date
Thursday
on this?
into Friday.
Well, what are the dates on
The
that?
February 5th, she went missing Monday the 9th.
This is what?
This is
Friday?
February 5th,
5th to
Thursday into
Thursday.
Friday. This is late.
Thursday
This
to
is
Friday,
after
got it,
midnight.
got
So
it. And
technically
then
it's the
Monday.
6th. Technically it's the 6th.
Okay, got it. So Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, and then Sunday night she went missing.
No.
I forgot what it was.
She went missing Monday night in New Hampshire. Maxwell, we
Yeah,
talked about the
hold on,
specific
okay,
timeline.
wait, Monday night. Okay, got it.
Okay. Oh, man. Who's Maura Murray, Maxwell? Okay, so as I was just saying, coincidentally, within those few days, that's when Donald Rumsfeld announced there was an investigation into assault and harassment in the military. That Thursday, it broke on the news that there was an investigation in West Point in the military for sexual harassment. So what if she was a victim? She came forward. That's why she left West Point. And now, what if the phone call was related to that? I mean, I don't want to get into crazy conspiracies, but what if someone from West Point, what if someone from West Point or involved with people at West Point was working with campus security? And they were the ones that
That's
called
crazy.
it.
I didn't know about it. Is this a new thing?
No, we discussed this in previous podcasts.
Right. but I forgot the significance of that. Like, that's so weird.
Here's the other thing.
Wait. So the news broke out on the
National news
in West Point.
There was a military investigation, West Point and in the military in general as well.
That there was like abuse with the students.
And there was an investigation launched. Yes.
And it's a possibility that Maura was a victim and.
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
This is a theory, but like she
like I said, I don't really want to get into that, but. Here's the thing. So here's the other thing we can deduce. Whoever called her at 12:40 knew that she was at the desk at that time.
Okay.
So that means that Maura knew who was calling, and then that's whoever that someone was is the one that has upset her. So I mean, if we're looking at more mild possibilities, this person could possibly know if Maura has another boyfriend. They could possibly say, okay, I know about your other boyfriend, I'm telling Billy. Because Billy had the phone number of Kate Markopoulos, like the dorms. Like, Billy had all these people that knew her. He had their phone numbers. So these people knew Billy as well. They met Billy. They knew Billy.
Okay.
And a lot of them didn't like him, but they knew him.
Yeah, because he projected himself on TV, by the way, like a really nice guy. I don't know, but everyone says he's an asshole or some shit.
Well, he's currently under investigation
for
sexual assault. You think that's funny?
No, because I remember, yeah,
I mean, it is possible that the person is also kind of innocent because after she went missing, they don't want to out themselves, saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, I made the phone call that upset her and caused her to do all this." So they might, if it was more innocent, they might not want to say for that reason as well.
I don't get it. What do you mean?
If the person just said, "Oh yeah, you have a drinking problem, I'm gonna tell Billy," and it wasn't that bad, and then Maura goes missing, they might not want to be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I was the person that called Maura and told her that." Like, would you want to come out and say that now?
Oh, I see.
So even if it wasn't somebody, if it wasn't someone
It-
threatening
so-
her, it wasn't someone.
Okay, got it. So if someone
Okay,
outed
so
her,
now again, we have to go down every single rabbit hole. Some people are saying that Kathleen might have been on campus and made the call from a dorm, or Julie, because we don't know, because if she talks to Kathleen on her cell phone, where was Kathleen? I don't think their whereabouts, her and Tim Carpenter, I don't think their whereabouts have ever been accounted for this entire time period, all the way up to her disappearance on that day.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess no one really paid attention.
I think the police probably asked, but we don't have that information, and we don't know if that's corroborated. So was anybody else on campus? We don't know.
How far was the house from the? How far are they from the UMass?
Couple hours. I mean, it wasn't that close. 2 hours maybe.
So
Couple hours.
It's not likely then, because like they'd have to rent out hotels and shit like that.
Not necessarily if they were just stopping by the UMass. But here we go. Okay, so from the family website on the old forums, here is a post. However, it has been confirmed that the time the police reported that Maura had an upsetting phone call around 1 a.m. that they reported as Thursday night, which would have actually been Friday morning, was not the time Maura spoke to her sister. Maura's phone records show that she spoke to her sister from about 10 p.m. to 10:20 Thursday night. There is no record of a 1 a.m. call on Maura's cell phone. Okay, so the police reported that the upsetting phone call occurred around 1 a.m. Okay, so regarding the security desk phone number, this phone has an unlisted phone number, so calls cannot come in on the phone unless from the security office or police station. So if this is true, it opens up another can of worms. That would mean that campus security or UMass PD or Amherst PD would have been the only ones who could call her. So if it's one of these cadets or law enforcement, it might have to be one of them that is calling her, which would narrow it more, if that's true. Or it could just mean it's an unlisted number, and if she has the number, she could then give it to anybody. So, this was posted by Peabody on the original family website forum. Most people believe Sharon Roush is Peabody. I have not seen this 100% corroborated. I don't think Sharon ever said this, but this is what most researchers believe. So, Peabody, from this same thread, this post. I have stated before that I have a connection to the family. The sister denied that there was any call at 1 a.m. She still says that there was never any such call. From the evidence that has been presented to me, I believe her. She was extremely distraught over Maura's missing. She told the police over and over, I have never talked to Maura at 1 a.m. She told the police that she and Maura talked often, just never at 1 a.m. The police were not interested in any other conversation. The sister was distraught over her sister's missing. How do you know that the sister did not say that she spoke with her sister on Thursday? I know that she told the police that she spoke to her sister regularly and that she has not talked to Maura when she was upset. I also know that the police were only interested in a 1 a.m. call, which to my knowledge has never been proven. In fact, the cell phone bill confirms there was no conversation at 1 a.m. on the cell phone. As to a call on the security phone, Maura would have had to call someone and give them the number for them to call her. She was prohibited from taking personal calls on the security phone, which puts us back to the mystery of why she was so emotional at 1 a.m. It certainly seems plausible to me that the police ruled a 1 a.m. phone call between Maura and her sister based on some interview at UMass, but did not base the call on phone records. Then, once they could not confirm a 1 a.m. call, they never reported to the public that there was never any such call. After all, they have never released information that the bus driver has been cleared of any suspicion, yet those in the family have been told by police that he has been cleared. So this is Peabody posting this information. If Peabody is Sharon Roush, this is coming from her, and the police were very interested in a 1 a.m. call, and she's also referencing the security desk. She seems to think that because Maura was prohibited from using it, that she didn't use it, and there was still a mystery. But just because she was prohibited from using it doesn't mean she didn't use it, or it could mean that security or security personnel or police officer called her on that phone for whatever reason. I mean, I just thought of something else. What if it was a police officer at Amherst who knows that, or who possibly, if she did hit Patrick Vassy, he knows she did and he's blackmailing her for some reason? What do you think about that?
Say it over time.
If it's a police officer that, for whatever reason, knows or thinks that Maura hit Patrick Vassy, or knows that the Saturn hit Patrick Vassy, even if she didn't, and he's blackmailing her. That opens the door to some possibilities as well. So, a supposed friend of Maura also posted this. I honestly don't remember if she was working that night. I must remind you that shifts were from 8 to 12 a.m. on weekdays, 8 to 2 a.m. on Thursday nights, and 8 to 3 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. So if the accident occurred during the day, that is very unlikely. Additionally, it is unlikely that she would leave her shift early. Here's another thing, though. If it wasn't the phone call, one of the supervisors or anybody walking by the desk could have told Maura something upsetting, right? Or threatened her.
Yeah.
Who said it had to be a phone call?
Right.
So here's the thing. The list of people that signed in should be explored. But
okay.
I still don't think that'll help, because if it's somebody threatening her, he wouldn't have signed in. So, I mean, it would still be helpful to have the list, but it might have just been whoever walked by saying whatever they said. Okay. So, just one final thought. This is a forum post I found dated January 24th, 2009, relating to the whole UMass situation. Sorry for the long post, but wanted to keep all thoughts related to subject together. Get out the popcorn and the peanuts to throw later. Helena advised that the call came from a campus phone at 12:40 a.m. I am a stickler for timing. Evidence is in the timing. She said the call had been investigated, but it could not be proven who made the call, as it was a campus phone in a public domain of the university. Okay, so here's another point. Does that mean it wasn't from a dorm room and it was from some lobby type area? Like if it was from the phone in the art gallery. So it's connected on the UMass phone network, but it's not. It's in some kind of a common public area, so they can never identify who made the call, even if they had the location of the phone, correct? So maybe they don't have a dorm and a person. They only have a public common area. Okay. They were not able to trace the call because law enforcement waited too long, although we have the conflicting article that said they did trace the call. The semester was finished and the dorms vacated by the time the call was investigated. That being said, one could nail down the possibilities if one could obtain a listing for those located in the dorm where the call originated. This is beyond the scope of this forum, however, not beyond the powers of the university and law enforcement. There is the problem that visitors could have been staying at the door, thus making the search more difficult. However, the first task would be to cross-reference if there was anyone who Maura knew at the time or from her past who might have been living in the dorm. It is possible that if a person was harassing her, she might not have known them, but they saw her either at the dorm working or at the art gallery working. I guess we're going with a stalker idea. We mentioned this briefly, but we never really got into it too much. Universities do cover up incidents that throw them in a bad light. I cite an example from a very old and established university in Nova Scotia where there were many complaints of assault. These went unheeded by the administration finally. So I'm going to paraphrase this. Basically, a whole bunch of people were assaulted, and she was a director. She was director at a youth health adolescent center up to age 30. The complaints came into the center. They all looked into it, and the culprits were members of the football team, mostly American, and the star player had raped and molested numerous students. Most of the victims had been threatened to keep silent. So the victims went to the board of trustees, the alumni, and threatened to go to the press. Nothing appeared to have been done, and the victims went home with their scars. Most did not return. So the complaints did not go unheard by the Board of Trustees. They gave the American president his walking papers and installed a woman as president, first time for a female president. It was no time before heads began to roll. The football coach and those complicit in covering up the assaults were dismissed. The football players and other culprits did not return to the university. No one was ever prosecuted for these abuses against the female college students, all of them Canadian and mostly local Nova Scotians. The point being, no one in the establishment wanted to rock the boat, else the college would lose all their lucrative foreign students, and certainly did not want the matter to go public. These complaints were suppressed, and many of the students simply left school. We are talking here of at least 75 who came out for the talk I gave. My guess, there were likely many, many more victims who were afraid or reluctant to come forward as they were afraid to tell. So the military suppressed and ignored complaints of assault in the United States, and likely in Canada as well. So Rumsfeld inquiry into such allegations on February 5th, the day Maura became upset. Is this another coincidence, Maxwell?
Maybe.
Yeah, oh man. So Maura was asked to leave West Point. She had made it. Did she make a complaint of harassment or sexual abuse? And the inquiry announced the day she became upset is compelling. So this person said, my guess is that there was a male harassing Maura, either from the university or from West Point. It is possible that the person she complained about at West Point transferred to the University of Massachusetts. That's a bizarre theory. It is possible it is not the same person, but another predator. It is possible that it is a friend of the abusers or girlfriend threatened Maura. After all, it is a small world. And then she also goes into, there is too the coincidence of the timing of Vassie's accidents. What if someone wanted Maura's silence so desperately they were willing to go to any end? Such as this person called Maura and said, if you don't shut up, the same will happen to you as happened to Vassie. It is possible that the person could have even harmed him for the specific purpose of scaring Maura. This is pretty twisted, but hey, there are a lot of crazies in the world who would stop at nothing to get what they want. For all we know, someone could have caused Maura to have the accident with her father's car, followed her. The fact that Maura went to her father's motel that night has always struck me as odd. There had to be a reason, and perhaps Maura was afraid to go to her dorm, or she has something very vital to share with her father. The question...
Who's writing this?
Just a random forum poster I found.
Okay.
The question then becomes if any of these scenarios might be the reason for Maura's sudden departure from university. Why didn't she tell? We do not know what she may have shared with her father, but I think we can presume that if he knew someone was threatening Maura, Fred told the investigators and or law enforcement. We simply do not know what happened that precipitated Maura heading north to the Haverhill area, but I agree it was huge in her life. Maura does seem to be the silent type, and I believe she was under duress. Whether Maura's departure from Amherst to the north has anything to do with her disappearance is unknown. As stated previously, it is cruel irony if she fled from one perpetrator to meet yet another further down the road. It is possible that there is no lack of evil people in the world. I feel confident that the private investigators have looked at Maura's past and any associations that might be related to what happened in Amherst. They are not fools, but rather very dedicated individuals adept with investigational skills and have access to information that we do not have. Weeper has stated that the investigation is centered in Haverhill. I trust this information to be true. Okay, so she made some interesting points also with the cruel irony. What if all of this is true at UMass and then she escapes and then she's killed by some crazy local in New Hampshire? That would be really messed. I mean, it's messed up either way, but that's indeed cruel irony.
Yeah, but why do you go that far? Why didn't you think that maybe someone followed her from West Point or something?
Maybe they did, but then someone local in New Hampshire killed her before they got a chance to.
Oh, like a planned...
No, not planned. Just a local psycho.
Okay.
Like Rick Forcier. Do you know who that is?
I heard his name a few times.
All right, so that was a big bombshell. So the final thing I'm going to go over. This is probably the longest podcast episode we've done. So final connections. Who went to UMass? Maggie Freeling went to UMass. Eric Begley, one of the producers of The Oxygen Show, also went to UMass. He went from 94 to 97. So here's some last names in the UMass directory that you might recognize, Maxwell. Or maybe since you're Maxwell, you might not recognize them. But tell me if you do. Williams, West, Smith, Soto, Roush, Provencher, Olson, Monahan, McNamara, Mayotte,
So everyone went to UMass.
Lavoie, Keys,
These are all
Jackson,
the shit.
Guy, Forcier, Dudek, Collins, Boisvert, Atwood. So these are just last names.
Yeah.
These are just last names. But that's quite a few last names of the players in the case, wouldn't you say? And there was also some people involved in the Breonna Maitland case.
But
What do you think, Maxwell?
Well, I get it. Like they went to the same university, but so what? It's like
That
close.
many people? I mean, literally
Okay. We'll do this list.
Forcier is not that common of a name, Maxwell.
Do this list. Make the list of those who did not go to UMass, and then we can see.
Is Forcier that popular a name, Maxwell?
No.
I mean, obviously Smith is. You know, some of the other ones. I mean, Atwood, I guess.
What's your point with this? What's your point with all the names that were involved with it? So what's your point with all this?
Well, so basically relatives of all these major players. So, again, is it not enough of a coincidence that Butch Atwood is from Taunton, Massachusetts? It is not enough of a coincidence that people from Moore's hometown moved to Haverhill? Do we have to add another coincidence that they have family members that are going to UMass? Like, all of these people? I mean, if it was only a couple.
Yeah, but so what? These are different graduation years. So, like, so what? Like,
yeah, that's quite a few people. I mean, it's not like it was only one or two of them. You don't find this? I mean, this is a crazy coincidence.
I don't know. I don't think so. Cause like I don't know. Like
The
who
uncommon
cares?
the uncommon names, you don't think is coincidence? How many universities are there in the country, Maxwell?
I really don't know.
Think about it.
I don't know. There's a lot of them.
Look it up.
50,
Look it up.
100. So
Look it
there
up.
should be because you got to look at the opposite too.
No, not really. Why? Let's say half did and half didn't. There should only be like a very small percentage that did it, right? If it was only 1 or 2 people, that'd be fine.
I don't know. So here's the answer from the. It says that there are 2,618 accredited four-year colleges and universities. Most operate privately or as part of state governments. Now we have a question of our own.
Okay, so Maxwell, why are they going to? You know how many other colleges are in the area? They should be going to the other. I mean, there should be. I mean, UMass is a big school. Obviously, if we have a Smith, we have an Atwood. That's not too crazy. But to have all of them. I mean, even Olson, that's fine. But Forcier is not a common name. How many people named Forcier have you known?
Wait, so where'd you? So they all graduated from?
I don't know about graduated. These are they attended.
But so what? What's the significance of that? So what? They went to the damn school. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
I mean, here's the thing: the fact that there's that many of them. So like Monahan, that's a common name, right? Not bad. But why McNamara? Witness A. That's Witness A's last name. And Lavoie. How many people named Lavoie? I mean, that's not the most common or uncommon.
I know McNamara is that politician guy that started wars and shit like that. I don't know, he had a documentary on his own.
It's the combination that makes it strange, I think. It's not necessarily. But, Johnny, what do you think of the whole UMass thing? So, Maura went missing in New Hampshire, but then there was a whole bunch, all that weird stuff, extra car accidents, and then, of course, the emotional breakdown at work. Do you think, in general, that would be a big relevance, or no? No?
Wait, hold on. What?
Do you need a refresher on the case? So Maura worked at UMass and was a student at UMass?
She was security.
So she's when people signed in at the desk, so to get into the dorms.
Yeah.
And so she worked there, and on Thursday night she had an emotional breakdown.
How do we know that?
Her supervisor found her very emotional.
So she was crying.
She had tears, but she was mostly in a catatonic state. So she was people were walking by without signing in. She just was sitting there not doing anything, like shocked or afraid.
But there was a complete breakdown at 1, right?
Well, hold on. We don't know what time it happened. That's the problem.
Oh, wait, did she get broken up with a boyfriend? Or
We don't know. She had gotten off the phone with her sister earlier at 10:38. I think the phone call was from 10:10 to 10:38. And then she called her boyfriend Billy at 12:07 a.m. I think to 12:14 a.m. midnight. So her supervisor Karen Mayotte, she said the breakdown happened at 10:30, which couldn't have been possible because she was still on the phone at that time. But if it was an approximate, I guess it could have been.
But she did make that correction as far as because she got confused with the.
She actually flat out said if the breakdown was at 1, then it was at 1. She did not stick to her guns 100%.
But she didn't because a lot of the Thursday nights go past the hours goes past to 1 or something like that.
What does that have to do with that again?
Because she mentioned the first report 10:30 was the breakdown.
Yeah.
But she realized it must have been at around 1 because
no, she didn't say that. No.
Wait, what's
serious? You gotta look it up. So someone it was on a Reddit thing, or it was one of the interviews or something like that.
She in her interview on the podcast, they brought up the phone bill and then said some people say the breakdown was closer to 1, and she said, well, if it was after her phone call with her boyfriend and that's why she upset, then it would have been closer to 1. She did not stick to her guns 100%, but she said she remembers it as 10:30.
What's the significance of the breakdown, the emotional breakdown?
Because some people think that that's the spiral that caused her to leave UMass in the first place to go up to New Hampshire.
And you said that was Thursday?
So that's Thursday night into early Friday morning. Friday morning there was a snowstorm, no classes, but that's when her father came to town. Supposedly they were trying to get a new car on that Saturday. Remember? Sound familiar a little bit?
Yeah.
And then on Saturday night, there's a party in the dorm. Afterwards, she goes to return her father's rented Corolla for some reason. We don't know why. And she gets into another accident. That's where the unnamed police cadet is that we don't know. And for some reason, she's not cited for DUI, whatever. She just is let go. And then on Sunday night, she talks to her father. Sunday morning, she talks to Billy on her father's cell phone. Sunday night, she talks to her father, and then right after, within an hour of getting off the phone with her father, or possibly right after, she starts looking up directions in Vermont, New Hampshire. Now, someone actually brought this up. I don't even remember where I read it, but maybe Maxwell, see if this sounds familiar. Remember how I had said her father yelled at her and then she wanted to get away? What if the opposite happened? What if they wanted to do like a quick hiking getaway or something together to get away from it? I don't
That's
think
possible,
yeah,
but I
didn't
think
consider
Fred would have mentioned that in an interview. Did he? I don't think with the interview with
unless
Karen.
he didn't mention it for
I mean,
some
not Karen.
for a specific
What's her
reason.
name? What's her name? What's her name? The 107-degree person.
Erin?
Erin, yeah. But, like she
Did
did.
she ask?
I'm not sure. Well, I listened to. I listened to both interviews, part 1 and 2.
But you don't know what
but
was
I don't.
said on
Well,
them.
I don't. No,
I listened to both of them as well, multiple times.
No, but I don't remember her mentioning. Well, I don't remember
That phone
Fred
call?
saying something about getting
It was
away
just a
together.
theory thrown out. Whether he mentioned it or not doesn't mean it was true or not. So I just threw that out there as a possibility. But as far as timeline, then on Monday, of course, Monday early afternoon, ATM, which we'll get into. There's the ATM footage was finally released, and then she drives up. Theoretically, we don't know if she really did leave UMass, but if she did, she would drive up to New Hampshire. So the significance of that Thursday night breakdown, that's like one of the first major things that happened. And supposedly Maura never cried or got into states like that. So it's unusual for her. So my original question to you, and nobody, for some reason, nobody wants to focus on UMass. Then there was that hit and run that night also. Another weird coincidence is Patrick Vassy was hit just after midnight. So possibly while she was on the phone with Billy. Okay, so what I revealed in the last episode was that there was a landline phone on the security desk. And supposedly the police were interested in a 12:40 phone call.
AM?
Yeah. Which would have, if she had received that phone call, she would have been catatonic at about 1 a.m. And the police were very interested in that 1 a.m. breakdown. They did not mention the 10:30. So either someone's mistaken or someone's wrong. Either way, as if this case needed any more weirdness. But so UMass, very, very strange. So what do you think? You think it's worth looking into?
I guess everything is worth looking into, right?
And do you think that hit and run is just a coincidence? Because what I had theorized is someone else took her car. Hit Patrick Vassy.
I just found Karen's clarification on times as she told it to James Renner. Do you
Yeah.
Did you read that thing?
I don't know. Read it.
Okay. Okay. So I think. Okay, this is what she said. I think I might have screwed up with the times that I originally gave you, and Dude, I'm getting. Yeah, look, I'm moving my phone. There's a reflection on my phone, so. And if that is the case, I apologize. That Thursday night, the receptionist had to work until 1:45, in parentheses 2:45 on Fridays and Saturdays, parentheses. I think when I first talked to you, I got mixed up as to the day of the week, because on Sunday through Wednesdays till 11:45. That night, after I visited the other areas of campus, when I got to Southwest, I met up with the other coworkers at the eatery in SW. Yeah. Can't remember the name. Can find it after if you are interested in more specifics. I didn't eat, but when visiting another area supervisor told me that Maura was upset and that I should go check on her. At that point, I did, and you have the specifics from that visit. I do remember when signing her out early, thinking that she would have to wait about 45 to an hour until I could get off shift to bring her to Duncan's or the counseling area. I got off shift at 2:30, so I would have started packing her up at 1:15. It says p.m. here, but it's 1 a.m. 30 minutes before she would get off. Too bad we couldn't grab the police report I filled out the following morning at UMass Police, which would have had the exact time of signing her out to the specifics. Also, to clarify my job title, I was an area supervisor. What the hell specific?
So she's saying it was 1?
Yeah.
That was a really long way to say that, right?
Wait, that's what the hell?
Is that what she's saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
She
so she
messed
was-
up a little.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, like she never, like you're right,
Okay,
but she never stuck to
referencing.
it.
Okay, so I was referencing her interview on the podcast. You're saying so she posted that as a clarification.
Yeah, this is a quote this is a post by MRC Clint Harding 44 in response to this threat.
Okay. All right. So it was closer to 1. So it
Yeah.
was the landline phone. That's what I brought up.
Yeah.
So the issue with the landline phone is whether or not it was confined to only the UMass network, in which case other people couldn't call. It seems like it was either an unlisted number or a security number, in which case only the security office or a police department could call in. So that narrows it down a little bit. So there's that strangeness. The other thing that I wanted to add, we didn't talk about, Aaron actually, I believe, mentioned this. There's a back door where there's no security check, so people can come as they please through a back door.
If you know about it.
Yeah. So that, Maxwell, did you hear that?
There was a back door and no one was checking security, something like that. Or...
There was a back door
Yeah.
where you could come and go without, like, superseding the security desk.
Nice.
So that changes that changes a lot, because now anybody could have got in at any time, in or
Is it-
out. Maura could have theoretically.
That's-
The
that's-
people that
that's
believe
really-
that she hit Vassy, she could have snuck
That's
out.
really interesting. Do they have a visual of this entrance or no? Or it's
I don't know,
just
somewhere in the back. Why is it that relevant?
just if you can see, I don't know. Just
In the back somewhere.
yeah, okay, got it. Or if they can hear the door and come, I don't know.
Do it quietly.
I'm just trying to get it.
All right. Well,
trying to
I
get all the
asked.
details here.
I asked Johnny so all this stuff is pretty weird, right? So that's why the breakdown might be significant.
Okay. So you're saying she snuck out the back door? Is
No.
that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm just saying there was also a back door which opens options for people coming in or out.
Okay.
Who is this coming from? This,
Aaron.
Oh. That's really weird working as security and knowing that there's a door. I mean, can you just block that shit? Or I don't know.
That might just
It's
be
weird.
for like the people that work there though, not just for
Well, yeah, but yeah,
I mean, if it's
exactly.
easy-
Just like the
interesting.
landline phone.
But
That's
I see-
not for everybody, but if people know about it.
But that's really interesting because there's been a drug raid there, and you know if
Well, that's
if
the other
they're
thing.
if
So
they're
she's
gonna
making- she
do
also
some
made a
drug
call to a pizza place at like 3:40 a.m. Supposedly it closes at 3.
yeah, she was upset.
Talk
She
to
needed
somebody for a couple
whole
minutes.
pie to eat and some
Or
ice
she
cream.
knows the person at the pizza place and they're possibly a drug connection or something. Or if she's a confidential informant and she knows all these people and this whole thing went haywire. The other thing we didn't specifically address in the last episode, I don't think, is that if Billy was helping her disappear, then he could be coordinating with Kate and Sarah, right? So they're all in on it to help her. We didn't spend too much time talking about that.
Okay,
Thoughts?
I guess you can.
That's why he
expand
made
on
a
it. I
million
just,
calls, because
I-
he was trying to figure out how to help Maura. If Maura told him if she hit Vassy or someone else hit Vassy with her car and it incriminated her enough, or there's something else going on with the CI thing and she's in danger and she needs to get out and she trusts Billy. Billy has West Point connections, so it could all be not nefarious. It could be they're all trying to help her, and that's why Billy was on the phone a million times. That's why Billy called Kate, and that's why Billy didn't call back Maura's dorm after she was gone. Because he knew she was gone. Because all these people were helping to.
Is the West Point connection really that powerful and influential? I don't know. I'm curious.
Well, since we don't know exactly what the connection is,
Huh.
it could be. That's why it's a theory. We'll probably go over
it
that
is,
in the next
it is
podcast.
a military school, so I guess I don't know because
Yeah, those people
I don't know.
connected to
It's
people
not
in
like I
DC.
have connections to alumni and
All right, what do you think, Johnny? All right, let's go. Nothing. Maxwell, nothing. Let's put the final confirmation on Maura's emotional breakdown on Thursday night whether it was at 10:30 p.m. like Karen re-alleged in her recent interview on the Missing Maura Murray podcast. However, she originally stated she was actually participating in the original family forums on the Maura Murray missing website, like the family website.
Right.
So there's also been recent speculation that Dunkin' Donuts closed. There were like two that were kind of close to the campus. They closed at either midnight or 1 a.m. So if her breakdown was close to 1:30, Karen is like, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts. She wouldn't be saying that if the Dunkin' Donuts is closed, right? There are further Dunkin' Donuts that might have been 24 hours, but let's look at this. So Clint Harding, so he's an investigator. He was on early in the case. He came up with a lot of good info. He's basically a proponent of the suicide theory. However, he has some things to say. So he posted this. Yes, it is 100% confirmed through her and the school that it was around 1 a.m. or shortly after 1 a.m. that Karen encountered Maura. Karen, in her initial interview with James Renner, had mentioned 10:30 p.m., but corrected herself in a follow-up with him. I haven't listened to the latest podcast episode yet, but either way, she also confirmed with me as well. So it's easy to get confused because the security monitor's schedule at UMass in 2004 and likely today treats the Thursday night shift as a weekend shift, while the mistake Karen was making was to recall a Thursday night as a regular weekday night shift. Here's the schedule for all security monitors in 2004, 100% confirmed. Sunday to Wednesday, 8 p.m. to midnight. Thursday, 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday, 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. Karen remembers the incident with Maura by the time because she knows she encountered Maura in the last hour to hour and a half of her shift, and it's easy to assume a Thursday night was 8 p.m. to midnight, like Monday and Wednesday nights. Hence, while she incorrectly mentioned 10:30 p.m. He also said she has confirmed the time with me, and it was around 1 a.m. Here's Karen's clarification to Renner from his blog. This is Renner stating, one of the reasons I started this blog before publication of a book is so that I can work towards sussing out the details of this case from the beginning to the end until we find the truth. I don't like to rely on anyone else's reporting, and so I have to interview everyone again. Sometimes it's hard to recollect exact times from 7 years ago. I got a chance to contact Karen Mayotte again. And here's what she says. I think I might have screwed up with the times that I originally gave you, and if is that the case, I apologize. That Thursday night, the receptionist had to work until 1:45, 2:45 on Fridays and Saturdays. I think when I first talked to you, I got mixed up as to the day of the week because on Sunday to Wednesdays, it's till 11:45. That night, after I visited the other areas of campus, when I got to Southwest, I met up with the other coworkers at the eatery in Southwest. Can't remember the name. Can find it later if you are interested for more specifics. I didn't eat, but when visiting with the others, another area supervisor told me that Maura was upset and I should go check on her. At that point I did, and you have the specifics from the visit. I do remember when signing her out early, thinking that she would have to wait around 45 to an hour until I could get off shift to bring her to Dunkin's or the counseling area. I got off shift at 2:30, so I would have started packing her up at 1:15. 30 minutes before she would get off. Too bad we couldn't grab the police report I filled out the following morning at UMass Police, which would have had the exact time of signing her out to the specifics. Also, to clarify my job title, I was an area supervisor. So a couple different weird things as to how she got informed. If another student saw Maura not signing people in like she was supposed to, the student could have reported it to a supervisor, which reported it to Karen. Because that's one of the most mysterious things. Who was, like, what were the mechanics there? If another supervisor saw Maura, they would have just left her there incorrectly doing her job and walked away? Probably not,
At what
right?
time?
So,
How long has that been going on where she wasn't signing people in? And at what time did it start?
whenever someone first discovered her, it was a little after 1 a.m., so there's an alleged call to the desk line at 12:40ish. So depending on how long she was on that line, she got upset at about 1 or a little after 1 a.m. So it was probably only a few minutes, maybe 10 to 20 minutes maximum, when she wasn't signing people in, so they could just come and go.
It's like we're talking 1 a.m. Like there's really that many students going in and out.
It's UMass. Zoomass.
Zoom out.
I mean, probably not as much as earlier in the night, but like Thursdays. I mean, you guys don't remember your wild party, college party years? Thursday nights. Really, some colleges start the weekend on Thursday night.
Yeah.
So
Thursday nights.
Thursday nights, like the unofficial begin to the weekend. Not as many people start their weekend on Thursday as Friday. Friday's the big night. Probably not even as big as Saturday, but Thursday is the next big, super big party night.
Yeah, they try to take Fridays off so they can sleep in.
So yeah, a lot of people do that as well. Or even if they don't take it off, they still party on Thursday night because everybody else does.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to fault Karen of this. So it's not necessarily her fault because some people just forget things all the time. So I'm not saying Karen's in this big conspiracy where they're trying to shift the time to 10:30 so that everybody will forget about the call to the desk, which kind of has been done. They didn't talk about it in the Oxygen show. Like the whole timeline has been shifted, and timeline is very important. Like if you look at any court case, they're always talking about timeline because someone would have to have, you look at motive and opportunity as well. If the timeline doesn't match up, you don't really have a case of anything, right? Because if everything's an open timeline or a manufactured fake timeline, you completely change how the case plays out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the timeline is always very, very important. But the easiest way to clarify it would obviously be that police report that she filled out shortly after.
What was the police report for?
After Maura went, actually, when did she fill out yeah, she would have filled it out after Maura went missing. And then nobody ever contacted her about it ever again.
She made a police report because she went missing?
Well, she had an emotional breakdown in a catatonic state and went missing several days later. So she went missing on Monday. This was Thursday night.
So the main reason why is because she saw her, like, acting.
Well, she was yeah, and then because
And then
the police
she went
always
missing
ask
and
if
it's
you
like,
know
oh,
anything, if you
okay.
know anything, because that could have been what started the entire spiral, emotional spiral. I mean, we went over in the previous episode. I mean, in the previous 2 episodes about UMass, we went over what the possible call could have been. So the call was from another campus phone. And that was corroborated on older forums, too. And I read articles where police were interested in the 1240 call. They actually traced the call, and it came from campus.
Oh, that campus?
Yeah, so because it did not come on her cell phone. So it's kind of like this could be a big red herring. The thing that's weird is she said my sister about being upset. But that doesn't mean she was talking with her sister. Somebody could have called her, either one of her sisters or someone else talking about her sister. She could have found out some alarming information, or she was just saying that because she also told Karen that she had a roommate and she didn't. So,
and when did she post that whole, like, there was a death in the family? Was that the next day?
Maura posted that on Monday morning.
Oh, so that's like a few days
early
later.
afternoon. Yeah, so that was what she was doing before she left. I also brought this up, if she sent that email, if someone else is using her computer and making her disappear, they can use her cell phone to make calls to condos or try to get reservations, look up directions on, like, if you're framing somebody for a suicide, would you do that? Yes, no, you want to throw some diversion technique in there or whatever. I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, I'm just theorizing.
Where did her cell phone go? It's never found.
Her cell phone, so here, that's a weird thing. So she lost her cell phone on Saturday night at the campus party, the dorm party. And she left it there. That's when she got into her first car accident in Hadley, where there was the mysterious cadet, which we will be discussing in a little bit.
Was that the first attempt at trying to
escape?
Kill her?
Who knows? She could have been driven off the road. She could have taken the Corolla, which would have been a smarter choice than the car to get away. But we'll also be talking about her car a little bit more. So supposedly she got her phone back when she was working with her friend Sarah. Kate and Sarah were at the party. It was at Sarah's dorm room. Supposedly, there's different stories.
So she lost it Saturday, got it back on
She might not
Sunday?
even have lost it. If something happened and she just wanted to get it out of there as quick as possible, she left. So then Sarah would have given it back. She did not have it when she left, and she used her dad's phone to call Billy.
And her dad was there, right?
Well, she went to the hotel after the accident where her dad was staying, and she used her dad's cell phone to call Billy early that morning. And then later in the afternoon, supposedly, this has not been 100% confirmed, Sarah could have given her phone back to her at the job she worked at the campus art gallery.
Why was her dad there? And she's going to parties and stuff.
Her dad came for the weekend to help her get a new car because the Saturn was... Okay, so if you believe Patrice Vassi was hit, so there was the Patrice Vassi hit and run on Thursday night at midnight. So it seems unlikely that Maura hit him, but somebody could have used Maura's car to hit him. And if they called her and let her know that, she knew that she would be blamed for it. So then her father was coming into town that weekend. His words were they had to find a new car. We'll get into the details with the car in a minute. But her father did speak to her on the phone Sunday night on her cell phone. So she did get her cell phone back. We don't know exactly when, but she made a call.
And then he went back home on Sunday.
I believe he would have, yeah.
And then she went missing Monday.
Yes.